All right, Ged, we are live. A little unorthodox review today,
right?
As you can tell.
Yeah.
I'm maybe not in Canada anymore.
No, I'm surprised I don't hear like accordion music playing in the background.
Hey, like that big castle over there?
It's a large castle.
Yeah, apparently it's a hotel.
Whoa, must be Burt Reynolds.
Yeah. So Kenobi Wednesday.
Kenobi Wednesday.
Yeah. And I got to watch it on a small laptop screen.
Nice.
You know, Wi-Fi's not the best over here, but we got it done.
All right.
And yeah, and I think this. Well, first, public service announcement. If anybody has the opportunity to watch Liam Gallagher live, please take it. Please take it.
For those of you that don't know who that is,
the front man of Oasis.
There we go.
We part of the reason why I'm over here is we went to Nebworth, which is like, for people in Canada, it's like driving from Toronto to Barrie, for like an outdoor festival he was headlining, which was also the site of Oasis's famous '96 concert. And it was simply like, I've been to a few really, really good shows now. This just circles around anything I've ever seen live.
I doubt.
Like picture like 80,000 people. First time I've been to somewhere where every single person knew every single word to every single song. You know, like the big soccer matches where they have the big sing-alongs, whatever.
Yeah.
Literally everyone top of lungs, hammered, just screaming the entire thing long. It was a proper rock show.
All right.
So yeah, that's my little thing. If you ever get the opportunity,
checked off.
Fucking yeah, do it. Just go do it. Don't even ask. You know, even if you don't even like Oasis or Britpop or any of that stuff, it's still a hell of a show. Okay, so let's get to Kenobi. We found ourselves. This is what one of the more shorter episodes.
Yep.
I saw some negative sentiment online before I watched it, but I must say, I enjoyed this week. I enjoyed it.
I think there are a couple awesome moments for sure.
Yeah, so let's start. It pretty much gets the action, and Obi-Wan has to get Leia back, and we are treated to a lot of callbacks to. I almost feel like it's a mix of the Death Star rescue and A New Hope.
Yeah.
With a little bit of Force Awakens. And the Force Awakens I wasn't so high on. And the only reason I say that is because remember the whole scene where like, well, how do we get on Starkiller Base? And he's like, well, we have to get here and you could do this. And then, well, how are we going to get there? He's like, well, we could, there's a shield around the base. So we could exit hyperspace and just be on the planet. And he's like, does that work? And I can't remember what Han says. Remember, what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I
don't know. Yeah. Anyways, it was kind of like, for how remote and high value of a target the Inquisitorius base is, they kind of just breezed over the fact on how we're going to get on it real fast and super easy. But from that point on, I really enjoyed it. I thought there was a lot of tension walking through the base, everyone trying to get to where they are. And Tala, was her name Tala? Tala?
Yeah, Tala.
Had a couple actually badass moments when she disposes of that guard who basically catches her behind the scenes and just quietly, goes back to her desk.
Yep.
The one thing, we get to see a lot in this episode is we obviously Kenobi, he's definitely weakened, like Vader said. He's struggling. Could barely use the Force. And we see the ability start to come back to him as the episode went on, right? He was like struggling to deflect some of those blaster bolts, and by the end he was just like bam like getting them to go wherever he wants. I would imagine using the Force to hold back that window and direct all that water used quite a bit of concentration energy from him, so he's he himself is getting ramped up for what we know is the inevitable return of the rematch again with Vader.
Yep.
What were your thoughts on that whole sequence?
To take it back to the scene before, I liked the hesitation. And by the way, is that Ice Cube's kid?
Yeah.
Yeah. I noticed that. I'm like, that's amazing. you know, the whole we're not soldiers.
Yeah.
And just
not yet. You know, those rebel cells are just slowly starting to form. Yeah.
Yeah. But you know, seeing Tala step up, I'll go. I have officer clearance. Put herself out there. She had me legitimately convinced that she was a double agent, that she was a legit spy for a brief moment when she was talking to the third sister. I thought the entire sequence was done well. I felt tension. I felt some anxiousness. Yeah, I thought it was done. I just thought it was done really well, and you could see him getting more comfortable with his abilities again, with his ability to use a lightsaber. The scene where all the lights go off and the blue saber ignites. I just like, oh! I've been waiting for it.
Yeah. Yo, Bray, if you got some thoughts, man, let us know and we'll chat about it. I thought the shot of Kenobi and the stormtroopers, I always love the darkness and the lit up, and you kind of playing that hide and seek game. It's always good. I was hoping, for a little maybe dismemberment hitting those stormtroopers, but hey, I guess the armor was doing something. Well, it was almost looked like he was hitting them with a blunt object. You know what I mean?
I actually am really glad you brought that up, because there have been many times where Rex has referred to not only the quality of the stormtrooper, but how the armor had decayed to basically nothing. This is
dollar store version of clone troopers. Yeah,
but you might still have some actual clone troopers here, and that really speaks to how much better their armor was back then. That was kind of the first thing that I thought of. I was like, look how good that armor is.
Yeah.
Yep.
An awesome other call out obviously is when they said all we have is the T-47 air speeders. Yeah. So we get the return of most people know them as the snow speeders, but the T-47s come in for the rescue.
Yeah.
Which I thought was cool. But again, the moment was cool, seeing those back in live action, the pickup, loved all of it. But I just can't help but think, how did this base not see that cruiser come in and dump off two fighters? Maybe the speeders are low enough to the ground, but that place has a whole, there's a whole hangar of TIE fighters there, and not one person thought to launch a ship. That was, again, it.
Well, they did catch them by surprise though. And they said there's no shields. To me, this really speaks to how arrogant the Inquisitors are. There's no shields.
True. Yeah.
There was no guns for people to jump on. The second brother, or whichever brother it is, literally took down one of the
fifth brother
with a box. There's no battle stations. There's no nothing. To me, this speaks to, I think about Luke in episode 8, talking about the hubris of the Jedi. To me, it looks like the Inquisitors have just swan dove into that hubris mentality where they don't need shields, they don't need surface guns, because
that's true. Yeah, no turrets or anything. Yeah. It's almost, to your point, it's almost like Return of the Jedi when Luke's speaking to Palps and says, your overconfidence is your weakness. Yeah. I don't know if it's a dark side trait or not, but he's kind of the head of the snake, and that trait kind of filters down to everyone underneath him, right? So maybe they were a little, overconfident. They thought that the fear of the Inquisitors, right? They thought no one could ever touch them. And a weakened Kenobi gets in there and no issues. All right, what do we got here?
Don't need one for Kenobi. Thought he would have taken this suit off that.
I thought that immediately. I'm like, okay, he's dressed up like Stormtrooper, and again, alluring back to A New Hope. I thought we were going to see that,
as well. Would have been a cool tribute.
Yeah. Instead, we got the force flick, right, of the make the sound effect and get them to go away.
Yeah.
So instead of doing a tribute towards kind of the Luke and Han disguise thing, we got basically the old Ben callback from A New Hope, which I think it would be cool seeing Kenobi stuff his ass into a stormtrooper outfit.
Kenobi and Tala and stormtrooper things trying to lead the girl off world.
Yeah, they could put her in handcuffs and pretending like she was a prisoner. Yeah, could have went. But then I don't know. Would people complain about everything? Would people then complain it's beat for beat with the Death Star rescue?
Of course. 50% of people out there are going to say it's a great tribute, and 50% of people are going to say there's no originality. So they're screwed either way. And I love the sequence at the end. Small little tiny piece that I thought was amazing was Wade, who was the pilot that unfortunately went down at the end. He had the opportunity to bail earlier. And for people that were not soldiers, there's a moment when you can come back and see it on a larger screen, Ty, where you can see his determination that he's not leaving. It's little things like that in this series that I think have stood out for me anyway, more than some of the major events. He was not leaving Leia and Kenobi and Tala susceptible in the slightest, even if it meant that he was getting off world last, even if it meant he was being left behind. Like, he knows his vulnerability there. And he was determined because he was called off, remember? They're like, okay, go. He's like, no, not yet. Not yet.
It kind of reminded me a little bit of Poe at the beginning of Last Jedi when Leia's like, get out of there. He's like, no, this is a First Order dreadnought. Like, it's a world killer. Like, it's like this, or a fleet killer. Yeah, he's like, this is our only shot to get it. And he's looking at it like this, like, I got an Inquisitor, like, right in my sights. Like, I'm going to just, destroy her. Yeah. But it goes to show you, like, the amount of, like, anger and fear that all these people have been living in, right? Like, they're looking at, like, we've been oppressed for so long. Like, here's a shot to, like, finally get one back in the good column. And, obviously it doesn't go his way that particular time. But I like it. You can see, they're not, part of the reason I loved Rebels was you could see the seeds of the rebellion starting, and you see it with this episode too, right? And even the one prior as well. You see, like, these little cells of just people who are just not happy with their situation, and they're doing whatever it takes, secretly to help, people against the Empire. So again, to me, it very much fits narratively with what should be going on in this time period.
Could not agree more. Yeah, the sheer arrogance of the Inquisitors was without a doubt the big takeaway for me. Yeah, like, no shield, no ground cannons, no surface cannons, just that airspeeder scene of them coming into the landing bay quick and shooting that bag coming in fast and seemed to be just disappear for the next shot.
I'll have to go back and watch that, because again, I was watching a little laptop screen, so I didn't get to enjoy some of the wider VFX shots, but just seeing them back was cool. But again, I wish, I personally just wish we would have saw at least a TIE fighter depart that hangar and give a little bit of a chase. But, they get out of that right when Reva says, well, I'm tracking them. So that sets up our final two episodes, essentially. Vader, all of the Inquisitors now know, where this, I guess Rebel cell is hiding, and Kenobi is there. So,
how incredible was the tracking in Lola?
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not rooting for the Inquisitors at all, but it was all right, Reva.
Yeah. When she said I'm tracking them, I'm like, I thought immediately back to the hangar scene. I'm like, bullshit. There is no way you got through a tracker. I didn't see it. And then then as it slowly went on, I immediately went, oh, like when she says, oh, I'm tracking something that'll never leave Kenobi, essentially what she's hinting at. I'm like, oh, she totally put it on Leia. And then when you think about it, she handled that droid in her hand. So she obviously did something. And she even calls out, I used to have a droid too. So like just even that little line makes it seem like she might be adept at programming or adding a little something here and there.
Yeah.
All right. So again, I think overall, this is more of a, it was a rescue episode. We got some action, but I think it was a transition episode to set up our final act. So let's rate this thing. What are you thinking for it?
I'm a solid 8. Solid 8. Yeah. It was short. It was to the point. It didn't linger. It did what it needed to do. The scene at the end, as cheesy and heartwarming as this is, where Leia puts her hand on Ben. I realize this destroys the whole "you served my father in the Clone Wars." Forget it. Like we understand they went off key a little bit, and it is for the best possible reason. It's a solid 8, beginning, middle, end, brilliantly done.
Yeah, I'm probably going to go 8-1. And again, same sentiments of earlier too. And even what you said, like, there's enough here that I'm enjoying myself. There are some things where I scratch my head and be like, I don't know if that's what I would personally done. Like you said, the whole Leia's become such a huge plot point in all this. It's making her role in A New Hope seem a little bit different. Although one thing I did think of is, how when Leia sees Vader in A New Hope and is like not scared and like talking back to him and stuff like that, I can't help but feel like her being interrogated by Inquisitors and stuff like that at such an early age, she's just already used to this bullshit. You know what I mean? Like
100%.
She's just used to it. So like maybe that fits that narrative, and I can forgive the whole pre-recorded message piece. Like it is what it is. Like if they gotta like, mix that up a little bit to give us this series, then hey, I'm not going to complain.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
All right.
So let's wrap this.
Are you back next week then?
Yeah, I'll be back normal schedule for next Wednesday.
All right.
All right. And everybody who's watching this live on replay, let us know in the comments what you thought of this episode, what you're thinking so far for Kenobi, and if you're excited for how this is going to turn out. And we will talk to y'all next week.
Be good.
All right. Peace out, everybody.